Today, I'm going to talk to you about conflict that we have between one another and the fundamental reason why we have this and how we can actually resolve this. I'm Matthew Zoltan and I'm the author of the Undo Meditation and Healing app. I've been working with people for the last 45 years, running meditation retreats, running my own clinic where I help people deal with all sorts of physical and psychological problems. What we see happening in the world and in our own lives is pretty much the same. On the macrocosm of the world, the larger scale, we see people at war, people fighting one another, and people arguing with one another. And these conflicts go on a massive scale, all because one group of people have a different set of ideas than the other group of people. And what it actually boils down to is one group doesn't get what they want from the first group, and so they get upset with them and fight them. And the same thing happens on the microcosm of our own little relationships, just you and me or anybody else in our life. And when we don't act in a way that suits the other person, then the other person doesn't like us. If they don't act in a way that suits us, that fits in with our ideas of how people should be, then we don't like them. And if a person acts in a way that fits in with my ideas of how a person should be, I find myself attracted to them. And if I act in a way that fits in with the way other people think I should be, they are attracted to me. And so what are we looking for in here? We're looking for two things, what we don't want and what we do want. So we find that what we do want is something that makes us feel good and better about ourselves. So what does make us feel good and better about ourselves? Nothing more than being confirmed, than being told that as we are and the way we are is exactly how we should be. When we feel good about ourselves, this enables us to then feel better about the world around us. But when that feeling good about ourselves is based on just people talking to us or behaving in such a way that we like them, then this is a very shallow level of interaction. And the other way around, when we act in such a way that other people are attracted to us, what are they attracted to? Again, they're attracted to something familiar that confirms what they think, feel, or believe in their own life. And so this relationship is a very superficial level, because what happens when someone doesn't act in the way we want them to act, or doesn't think about ourselves or react to us in the way we want them to, we don't like them. Even the person we say that we really, really love. Why do we actually love them? We love them because they're giving us what we want. And the reason I say this so coldly is that, and it does sound quite cold, is that we had this idea that love is I care about the other person and I want to give something to the other person. I want to be a support to the other person. But how long will you be a support for another person when they stop being what you want them to be, when they stop treating you the way you want to be treated? You find that you love someone who gives you what you want, and when they don't give you what you want, it doesn't take long for that love to turn into aggression, to turn into hate, to turn into frustration, to turn into dislike. And eventually, most relationships that end in this way, where we're just not getting from the other person what we want. But what we're not seeing here is that between one another, one person cannot always give the other person what they want. And that why is that is because of the damage inside of that person. People behave in all sorts of ways in the world in which we don't like. Why? Because it doesn't fit in with how we think a behavior should be, how we think people should behave. We even get upset when people can't understand things. And we get frustrated with them. What's wrong with these stupid people? Why are they so ignorant? Why are they listening to the con men of the world? Why are they being influenced by propaganda? Why are they being influenced by media? Why can't they see through that? And we think we're so smart because we can see through that. And yet, even though we can see through it, we find ourselves in reaction to those people who can't see through it. And it creates another division. And so the person in reaction to the second person, the person in reaction to the people who can't see what they can see, the propaganda of the existence they're surrounded by, they get angry with them. And they don't realize that maybe that's just the trap of the propaganda to get you fighting one another. And you've actually got caught up in a fight between one person and another simply because one person sees things one way and another person sees things another way. So the frustration that comes when you think people are stupid, when they can't do or think what you can think, if they can't see what's really going on around them when you think you can, this can get very frustrating. And why do people act in the way they act when you yourself think you act quite well and you see other people acting in ways that are just, to you, unacceptable? And why are they unacceptable? I'd go straight out and say because you have no understanding of why they are acting that way. Once you understand why they're acting the way they are, you find it much more acceptable and completely acceptable, actually. But the thing I'm talking about today is to help you resolve this conflict, understand this conflict that you have with people, and then go ahead and resolve it. So there's all sorts of people in our world, so many different types of people, and these types of people are produced by the particular society, the upbringing, the damage, the traumas, the harm that they come into contact with throughout their life, which has all had an effect on them. And depending on how they've affected or been affected, so they will act out ways which affect you. But these ways in which they're acting out, when people are acting in a way that you don't agree with, or what you find violent or aggressive or annoying, these people aren't doing it because they want to. They're doing this because there's damage and harm and therefore distress and pain inside of them that is actually in control of how they act, how they think, and to what extent they can understand the world around them. The more damaged a person is, the less they are able to understand the world they're living in. They become more desensitized, more confused, more hurt, more withdrawn, and more angry. So a person will act in a way that is aggressive, in a way that is annoying, that doesn't fit in, not because they're trying to be annoying for you, necessarily consciously trying to annoy you. They're actually just acting out the pain that's inside of them. And they have no control over that. We think when we see a person that we get upset with, that we get annoyed with, we judge them and criticize them, and we're assuming that these people have control over what they're doing, have control over what they're thinking, have control over what they're feeling. Do you have control over what you feel? Do you have control over what you think? Do you actually have control over your actions either? I'd say all of us are driven by aspects inside of ourselves, starting with the feelings and the sensations deep within ourselves that create feelings that drive us to act in ways that we might not be happy about, but we have no actual control over. It just comes out of us. So when people are acting in ways that are upsetting you or annoying for you, rather than rejecting them, rather than reacting to them by getting upset with them, thinking about them in a way that is judgmental and cruel to them, or judgmental and not understanding of them, this is only going to hurt you, because who's the first person who's going to feel that reaction? And that is you. When you react, get upset with, or annoyed with another person or another group or a situation in the world, whether it's on the microcosm or the macrocosm of the world, whatever you find yourself in reaction to in the people close to you or the people far from you, just forming the group of the world, whatever you're in reaction to, you're the first one who gets hurt by that reaction. You're the first one to get stuck in that reaction. That reaction is you playing into what's going on in other people and the world around you. So you're getting sucked into other people's pain, other people's confusion, the very things that you're criticizing the people about, the very things you're judging other people about are the very things that you yourself are getting sucked into, and by judging and criticizing them, you're really just becoming like those people. And if you keep doing this, you're only going to disturb yourself. You're the one who's getting hurt and disturbed by your own reactions. Now, to understand that people do not have control over what comes out of them, this can change your view on them quite a lot. They don't actually mean to be the way they are. They've been affected by many things in life, and we don't know exactly what another person's gone through. If we're upset with a person, we certainly haven't got to the bottom of why they are the way they are. But when you get to the bottom of why a person is really the way they are, you'll find yourself feeling something very different to anger and judgment and criticism of them. You'll be feeling tremendous empathy for them. And that empathy is a completely different feeling. It's a feeling of an intelligent being understanding a person in a state that they cannot operate in an intelligent way from. And that intelligent being, that empathetic state that you're in, when you know what's happened to that person, that enables you to be with that person even though their actions are not desirable for you, or they're not desirable actions as far as you're concerned. But when you understand that they have no control over that, what exactly is that other than their pain? You see that these people are acting this way because they're in so much pain. And there's so much distress inside of them. And that distress and pain is simply overwhelming them. And that overwhelmment of distress and pains becomes their own reactions to other people and the things in the world that they don't like. And those reactions to things outside of them in the world that they don't like, those reactions are what prevents them from viewing the world intelligently. Yeah? Viewing the world intelligently means actually seeing the depth of why it is the way it is and what's causing it to be the way it is. Viewing another person intelligently is actually seeing that that person acting the way they are, the annoying way they are, where that is coming from in the depths of them. And when you see that, even if you don't know the person, but once you understand that this is the fundamental reason that people act in unpleasant ways, that act in ways that are very disturbing to be around, why are people doing this? Why are people in this condition? Because of their pain. Pain that they have no control over. Pain that is actually causing them to be unable to understand life as it is. So if you start reacting to them, you're doing exactly what they're doing. You're not understanding them. When you understand it's their pain, you don't have to know the details. You just see a person is not going to be behaving in the way that you don't like them to behave. A person is not going to be behaving in that way unless they are hurting deeply on the inside. It's the hurt that drives them. So the indication that they are hurt and damaged is their actions on the outside, is their aggressions on the outside, is their rudeness, is whatever ignorance they display, whatever insensitivities they display, whatever uncaring person they seem to be. That is coming from being uncared for. That is coming from them being harmed throughout their life. That is often all that person has known, is no one cares. Everyone treats me badly. This is very common in the world. We treat each other very, very badly because we're not understanding what's really necessary. And that is, we need to understand that when people are behaving in these frantic ways, in these aggressive ways, in these disturbed ways, in these confused ways, when people are acting in ways that you see as unacceptable or harmful even to you, you will see that this is actually a symptom of deeper harm and deeper damage within them. And when you understand it's a symptom showing that they are harmed on the inside, then you look a bit deeper. Then you understand they're not meaning to do this. They're not deliberately doing this. They have no control. This is what they're stuck with inside of themselves. And when you see that, it makes it a lot easier to live with the world and people the way they are. So then your reaction to the other person is the only thing you're suffering. You're not really suffering what they're doing or what they're like. You're really suffering your reaction to whatever they stimulate inside of you. And so this pain that people have inside of them and the pain that you have inside of you becomes a driving force for behaviors that nobody's going to be comfortable with. It becomes a driving force for behaviors that are just an expression of that pain. Very early in my life, I suppose, I think I was in my late 20s, and it just occurred to me that when people were in pain, when people were attacking me, when people were aggressive with me, when people were mean to me, when people were abusive to me, they, in a strange way, this was a cry for help. They were showing me on the symptomatic level the suffering that they're in. They're showing me something deeper about themselves by their actions on the outside, their unguarded, aggressive or confused actions on the outside. And that was something for me to look into. I found I was seeing this as this is really a cry for help. It became more interesting for me to take notice of that cry for help, to actually be with that person while they're doing that, and just see if I could not sense what was it they really needed from me in that moment. And if I could find that, that wasn't so hard. A lot of the time it's just me being being okay with them as they are and letting them get it off their chest. Other times it took a lot more. It meant that I had to go into a conversation with them and get to really understand what was really disturbing them. And if they weren't open to that, to simply see their disturbance and not react to it simply because I could see this is not personal towards me. They are not doing this to me personally. They're like this with everyone. They're not targeting me. They would do this to anyone. And this is because they are in so much pain. That is all that is coming out of them. And they have no control over that. They're completely lost in that. And for me to start reacting to that would only hurt me. But for me to see that for what it was freed me from that reaction. And not having this judgmental, critical reaction was actually brought about another level of intelligence where I became super sensitive and receptive to what's really going on for this person without necessarily ever finding out, but just being open to the fact that there's something more behind this. This person is in trouble. This person is in pain. And we are surrounded by people in trouble and in pain all the time. And people are behaving in ways that are expressions of that. So we need to be able to live with that. We cannot change that in people. They can't even change it themselves. Unless they're willing to face their pain, feel their pain, go into the depths of their pain, they're not going to change that pain. If you're not willing to feel your pain and go into the depths of your own pain, the pain that you are firstly in reaction to before you react to the other person, you're not going to change your actions either. So we need to come back to the feeling of what's driving our behaviors rather than judging or criticizing ourselves or others for these behaviors. So neither judge or criticize yourself nor another person for such behaviors or such ways of being that are disturbing for one another. But their primary point of suffering starts with a reaction to the way they are on the inside or a reaction to the person on the outside, the way another person is. And this reaction to the way I am on the inside is I'm reacting to something I don't like the feeling of. And if I react to that, now if you triggered that feeling in me, you behave in such a way that triggers a feeling in me, I feel that feeling, I react to that feeling, I don't like that feeling, I judge that feeling, and out of my judgment on what you've triggered inside of me, on the pain inside of me that you've triggered, out of that pain, I judge and criticize and attack the person who I see responsible for it, the other person. But the other person is not responsible for that pain. The other person is responsible for triggering pain that is already inside of me. And we're responsible for triggering pain that is already inside of others. We're not causing that pain to people. We're triggering the pain that's already there. And this is something we really need to understand, is that people have pain inside of them. And to be sensitive to one another, to be understanding of one another, doesn't mean we understand all the details of another person or of ourselves, but to be understanding of ourselves and understanding of the other person when we do act in ways that we prefer not to. And we have to understand that if we're acting in ways we prefer not to, clearly we don't have a choice. Clearly we don't have control over that. So no matter what we want to change in the world, nothing in the world is going to change until the human being can come back to their own reactions, to their own feelings inside of themselves that they are in judgment of, that they are in criticism of. And that reacting to our own feelings, judging our own feelings, judging our own state, criticizing ourselves, being so disturbed with the pain inside of us through the way we think about it, through the way we react to it, through the way we deny it, reject it, and so on. That reaction to our own pain is the reason that we are reacting to the painful behaviors of other people or the behaviors that are coming out of other people's pain, whether that be on a level of one or two or three people or on a level of the whole world, when we're in reaction to a group of people or a behavior of a group of people. Even though a group of people may be doing harm, there's people all over the world doing harm. Why are they doing harm? They're doing harm because they are harmed. It's coming out of their harm. It's coming out of their pain. They too have no control. They might have control over people because they're at a higher, a more powerful, more authoritative level in the world, but they as individuals and the group that's made up of those individuals are all just expressing their insensitivities because of their pain. They have no sensitivity for other people. They are just coming out of their own pain. And coming out of your own pain means that you're so disturbed with how it is on the inside of you that you are driven to act in ways that is very insensitive, very uncaring, and very harmful to other people. But how can we be free of being harmed is to understand that these people themselves, whoever they may be, whatever group of people, whatever individual, that these people are acting out of harm inside themselves that they really are oblivious to. They really do not understand how to deal with this. They don't even, most of the time, don't even admit or know that it's there. And I think it's quite normal, because that's, if they think it's normal, chances are that's all they've ever known in their entire life. So think of that. You look at the way the most horrific person is behaving, and you see a person who's only experienced that in life since they were a child. What sort of a life have they had? Where they've only experienced the horrors that you see coming out in their own behaviors. That is all they know of life. That's all they know of the human being. No wonder they have no regard for the human being. They have no reason to have, they have no experiential reason to have any regard for the human being, when all they've known from their parents all the way through to whoever they've been in contact with the rest of their life, all they've known is hurt and pain. This person's going to be a nasty person. When you understand that, you're not reacting to them. When they're hurt and their pain is coming out at you, yes, it may be disturbing, but that disturbance is calmed when you look back at that person with understanding. That look at what this person is showing me. They are showing me their own inner world through their outer actions. And that's what it's like on the inside of them. No wonder they're acting like this. And all you can feel there is an understanding that this person is just suffering. This person is just in pain, and that pain is overwhelming them. They cannot stop it bursting out of them. They have no control over this. This is not personal to me. They're not deliberately just attacking me. They would attack anyone. Whoever they could take it out on, they will, because that's been the experience of their life. The limited experience of their life is that their parents have taken shit out of them all their life. Their whole life has been a life, an experience of people taking shit out on each other, and they don't know any better. Whereas some other people have seen a life where there's also kindness and compassion and understanding. And these people are rare, actually. But they're there. You're there. And being there, this is where you need to use that compassion, use that understanding. Not that it's as an idea, but let it come to life within you in the moment that it's needed. Instead of reacting to someone, to see them for where they're coming from in themselves, to whatever extent you can understand them. Enough is to be understood is that they are in pain, otherwise they would not be acting this way. So how can you blame them? They have no control. They didn't do that to themselves. Someone else did it to them. They have no control over that. They don't know how to heal that. They don't know how to get over that. They don't know it's possible. The entire healing profession has failed all these people completely. No one's helping them. No one knows how to help them. Because no one can. No one can help you, and no one can help me. We have to begin with helping ourselves. We help ourselves break free of our disturbance with the world we're living in by seeing it with understanding. Seeing it with the understanding that is required, and that is required to negate our tendency to react to that world, to react to those people. If we react, we're just going to hurt ourselves. We're just adding to the problem, and we're going to become part of the problem. If we don't react, we actually are part of the solution, not necessarily the whole solution, but at least the solution for ourselves. So how do we not react? Understand that reaction is a thought process, and what we initially react to is the feeling that that person's triggered inside of us. How did they trigger that feeling inside of us? Because it was already there. That disturbance or fear or insecurity was already there, and they triggered it. They got to us, as we say, and they've triggered our own pain. If you react back at them out of your own pain, then you're doing exactly what they're doing with you, and that's getting absolutely nowhere. So the essential thing is we have to change our relationship with this pain, understanding that disturbances that we feel are there within us from our own life experiences, and people simply trigger those. And you'll find that as you heal those, you'll find people will trigger those less and less and less. And when you fully heal a condition inside of yourself, when you fully heal a fragility inside of yourself, if you're an insecure person and you get over that insecurity, you'll find no one can make you feel insecure again. It just won't happen. No matter how they treat you, it won't make you feel insecure. But if you've been already feeling insecure, then it's very easy for a person to stimulate that feeling of insecurity inside of you. So you get over that feeling of insecurity by staying with that feeling of insecurity whenever it is triggered by another person or a situation in your life. And that's what we have to come back to. We have to come back to, what is it that person just triggered in me? Again, in my early life, in my mid to late 20s, I remember thinking, when people would disturb me sometimes, my interest was, how the hell did they make me feel like that? How did that person control the way that I feel? How did they make that happen in me? So I'm interested in, how did they get to me? What is it in me? And I had to look back into me to find out exactly how they did that. How did they influence me? How did they throw me around like that? How did they have that effect on me? Just because they're upset, just because they're behaving in a certain way, just because there's a bully, how do they make me feel insecure? They don't. They only trigger the feelings of insecurity that is already inside of each one of us. And that's what's happening, and we don't realize. But because that feeling is our own pain, and someone touches on it, someone pushes our buttons, someone touches on it, and we flare up in that pain. And then we, without realizing, it's very, very fast. Our first reaction is an objection to that pain, an objection to feeling that way, and instantly we project out of that at the other person, and we attack them. And that attack, or that misunderstanding of them, that reaction back at them, is driven very, very quickly from whatever they've touched on in us. So all we have to do is heal that. And so living in the world is an opportunity. Living with people is a constant opportunity to be put back in touch with aspects of yourself that really do need your attention. And by getting put back in aspects of yourself that need attention, what I mean by that is people will disturb you. People will seem to be disturbing you, seem to be upsetting you. The world at large will seem to be upsetting you and frightening you. But it's only upsetting you and frightening you because you're already upset and frightened in the first place. And it's just tapping into that. It's just reaching you at those levels. When you resolve your own fears, you will find you're not frightened of the world at large. You're not frightened of what's going on in the world. And your fears may be many. Your fears will be many if you're frightened of what's going on in the world. And that's okay. The thing is, how do you deal with that? Is when you feel that disturbance, when you feel that inner disturbance, which is the first point of the reaction to another person, when you feel that, you come back, just be with the feeling of that. Don't act that out. Don't act your urge out, that urge to attack back, to react back. Don't get involved in thinking about the world at large or the other person who's upset you. Don't get involved in thinking about how much you don't like the world and what's happening in the world. If you get involved in that, you're going to get involved in a world of pain. And the world of pain is of your own making. And that world of pain is made of your own reactionary thinking. And that's what you're suffering. You're not suffering the world. You're not suffering other people. You're suffering your own reactionary thinking. And that reactionary thinking is what we all need to take care of. And at that level, change can happen. Once you catch yourself in their reaction, you come back to the initial point of the reaction, which is how it made you feel. That's what you need to understand about yourself. How are you going to understand that? You need to feel that. You need to be with that feeling as it is inside of you. Not do anything with it, just feel it. That's what feelings are for. You just feel them. But understand that this is me. This is not caused by them. So already you've eliminated the first point of blame, which is you think, because I feel like shit right now, that person's just acted in a way that's caused this to come up in me. Therefore, that person is the reason that I feel like this. And so I have a reason to blame them. But when I understand that this person did not cause me to be that way, then the blame drops away. I can't blame them anymore. That all they've done is triggered what's already inside of me. I can't blame them anymore. They are not the reason I'm feeling this way. I was feeling that way already, but I'd ignored it. I've overridden it. I've suppressed it. I've pretended to myself that I don't feel that way. And they've helped me get back in touch with myself. So really, I should be thanking them. We should be thanking one another for being such disturbing individuals for one another to live with, because in that we are helping one another heal our own pain, know about our own pain and heal it. How do we heal it? First, we have to know it's there. How do we know it's there? Because we feel it. Why do we feel it? Because feeling is how the body heals any pain that is in there. The body is the healer of this pain, and how the body heals that pain is simply through feeling it. But rather than, so that you don't regurgitate and reinforce that pain, you also need to understand that that person isn't to blame, that what's going on in the world around you isn't the reason you feel the way you are feeling. And what's going on in your life is not the reason that you feel the way you feel. Why you feel the way you feel is because what's going on in your life is triggering whatever pain, insecurities, or unresolved effects from life that you've experienced and accumulated before. And then as you resolve these effects, and to resolve these effects, as I said, you really need to come back to them. So in day-to-day life, rather than attacking and blaming the person who brings this up for you, bring it back to yourself, and it works. And this had a massive effect on my life. I became fascinated with the fact that every single situation and person in my life that upsets me is not actually upsetting me at all. I'm already upset. I have aspects inside of myself that I didn't even know were there. I have fragilities inside of myself that I didn't even know were there until the things around me, the world around me, the people in my life started to trigger them for me. And as they were triggering them, knowing how to deal with them was crucial. When we don't know how to deal with our pain, until each individual person in the world knows how to deal with their pain, nothing much is going to change. It doesn't matter what you do on the outside. Trouble is, with what we're doing on the outside, we're trying to change the behaviors of people, the behaviors of countries, the behaviors of governments, the behaviors of chemical factories, the behaviors of the medical profession, the behaviors of pharmaceuticals, the behaviors of who's dumping crap out of the sky on us. It doesn't matter whose behaviors. These behaviors are all coming from the pain inside of the individual human being who's doing that, or the group of people that are doing that. The group's made up of individuals, however. And so until the individual starts facing up to their own pain, they are not going to change that behavior, and is not going to change. That going on in our world is not going to change. It doesn't matter what you come up with. This is not the solution. The solution comes back to you starting with you. If you can't and won't face up to your own disturbances and own your own disturbances, you're not going to do any good for anyone or any situation in this world. That's where it's got to end. The buck has to stop with you. I used to have this saying when I was working with people in the early days. They say, the buck stops with me. You can come to me, you can throw all sorts of things at me, but the buck stops with me. Your behaviors are going to be challenged if you bring them out with me. Not challenged in a brutal way, not challenged in an uncaring way, challenged as in, I'm going to point out those behaviors. I'm going to put you in touch with those behaviors. I'm going to help you resolve those behaviors, but I'm not going to take them on. I'm not going to take them personally. It's not about me. It's about you. And in that way, the buck would stop with me. And in that way, I could help those people or that person. Otherwise, if I take it in, I take it personally, I can't help them. I'm just going to come back at them with an attack. And this has been a key element of my whole life of being able to survive in the healing profession, helping people resolve all manner of pain, all manner of suffering from my entire life without getting absolutely buried in it. So the crucial point is that it's not something to be thought about out of a reaction to it. It's something to be felt inside of yourself. When you can be with someone in pain and not, you may feel that pain, you may feel that distress, and you will, no matter who you are. You have to be able to not react to that feeling, but feel that feeling. So even to help another person, if you can't be with the disturbance of being around them, if you can't be with the disturbance inside of yourself that you feel when that person is there needing your help, if you can't be with that, you won't be able to help them for long. You will just be trying to change them, trying to fix them, trying to correct them, rather than allowing them to be in the pain they're in and giving them a space of understanding and empathy in which they can go deeper into their own pain and eventually heal that pain, or at least acknowledge and own that pain, and later on possibly heal it, but not necessarily. So owning and acknowledging and owning our own pain is a massive step. A massive step, because once you know it's yours, once you know that when someone treats me a certain way, it's triggered a feeling inside of me that I'm disturbed by already inside of me. Once you understand that, then you can't blame other people. You no longer look at other people as a victim looks at it as a predator. You're no longer looking at other people as they being the fault of your pain, the cause of your pain. Other people are they're trying to deal with their own pain. They're trying, even though they're not doing it very well, they're trying to deal with their own pain. They're failing in dealing with their own pain when they come out at you and react and fight you. That complaint, that reaction is not the answer. That's just getting completely caught up in the problem and becoming part of the problem. So you need to extract yourself from the problem. If you don't extract yourself from the problem, you'll continue to harm yourself with your reactions, with your own reactions. How you extract yourself from the problem is own your own pain and understand when another person is behaving in ways that you find difficult to tolerate, it's not personal. They have no control over that. They have no say in that. They're not trying to hurt you. They are hurting, and what's in them is what comes out of them. That's not saying it's okay. It's just saying that they can't be blamed. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be stopped, or you shouldn't stop someone hurting you, but not by attacking them, not by harming them more. Because as soon as you attack someone else or harm someone else more, you're the first person who experiences that aggression. You're the first person who experiences that rage. You're the first person who experiences the distress of being in reaction to other people or the world at large. And that's what you suffer. So to end your suffering is very important. And this is a day-by-day process, starting now. Now, in my Undo app, meditation app, if you download that, very early on, I go deeply into explaining the nature of reaction and projection. And then there's another 14 chapters there, all about these different aspects of life to help you change the way you are being affected by the life you're living, to learn to live with yourself and the world as it is, to live with yourself as you are, and to live with the world and the people that you live with as they are. Learning to live with yourself as you are and learning to live with the world around you is really all enlightenment is. It's not about changing yourself. It's not about changing yourself. It's not about changing the world. It's about understanding yourself and not reacting to yourself as you are. And therefore, as a result of no longer judging yourself, no longer reacting to yourself as you are, you come to understand yourself as you are. And when you understand yourself as you are, you won't be at odds with that. And when you understand another person as they are, you won't be at odds with that. You'll find that completely acceptable. So download my app if you like and see if you can change the way you're looking at things. Get some help with this. This is just one talk, but you need a lot more than one talk because you're caught in a world of people reacting to each other, fighting one another. And it's all surface nonsense. It's not making a difference. It won't make a difference. We have to take responsibility for our own pain and the healing of our own pain in order for that pain to not be spewing out in these aggressive behaviors that are going on between one another. I guarantee you, as soon as you look into this, as soon as you start doing this, you're the first person that's going to feel the relief. You are the first person that is going to get the benefit of understanding what's going on when you're reacting, what's going on when you're upset with the world. When you understand what's really going on, the dynamics of that, of your thinking and your conflict with yourself in that, when you understand that, you've got a way out of that. And the way out is through that understanding. Understanding that is the way out. That's the effect it has. Thanks for watching. If you want to take your meditation and healing journey deeper, download my meditation app Undo, which is available exclusively on my website undoapp.com. Okay, bye for now.